Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Actually Following Jesus with Pastor Chris. In last week's episode, we talked about the culture wars and how Christians, largely conservative Christians in the United States, have mostly focused on the issues of abortion and human sexuality to the neglect of some of the weightier issues of the faith. And I talked about my relationship with these two issues and how my views have evolved over the years, and about how Jesus never really talked about those two things, but spoke frequently about status and wealth and power seeking, and how we should be humble and serve one another. And I said that I wasn't going to do an episode this week, but you all gave me some excellent feedback, and I just felt like I really wanted to give you something this week. So, what I've decided to do for this week, rather than recording a whole new episode, is I'm going to take my interview with my associate youth pastor, Zach, who is gay and is a Christian, that I did several months ago on my TikTok channel, and I pulled the audio from that, and I want to play that as for this episode this week. So if you've already heard that interview, I apologize, but that video didn't actually get a lot of views. I think that it was a time when TikTok was trying to force me to pay for their promotion, and so they intentionally limited views. And I was pretty sad about that because I really wanted Zach to be able to tell his story and share his story from his perspective with a wider audience. So I hope you'll enjoy this interview. Let's take a listen. Hey y'all, it's Pastor Chris here. I am here sitting down with my associate coordinator of youth ministry. This is Zach.
Hi guys.
So I wanted to sit down with Zach and talk to him a little bit about his experience with being gay and also being a Christian and coming up in our church.
Mm-hmm.
You came out at a youth event that we had one time that I was leading. Could you tell us more about that?
I'd known I was gay for a while, and I was really nervous about it and being in the church and kind of thinking about how can my faith work with this, because all I'd ever heard is you can't be gay and a Christian. That's a sin. You can't do that. You're not welcome. You're going to hell. And it kind of got to the point that I was going to give up on my faith. And then this random guy comes in and starts teaching at our youth group. And he did a lesson on sexuality and how it's okay to be who you are, and you can still be a Christian, and you're still loved and accepted. And during that lesson, I decided it was my time to come out for the very first time.
Yeah, I remember that night because you did, and then the entire youth group surrounded you and gave you a big hug.
I still remember that moment. Mm-hmm.
I wanted to kind of go back to what you said earlier about you'd always heard that you can't be a Christian, that you're going to hell, and that kind of thing. Like none of that changed like who you were attracted to.
No, it
right?
doesn't.
And when did you first kind of figure this out for yourself that I'm attracted to guys?
So kind of going through puberty, when you get all those mini crushes and maybe urges.
I definitely remember those days. Yeah.
I just kind of, instead of having those for girls like all my friends were, I was having them for my friends and for other guys. And it was really confusing for a little bit because I was like, oh, that's not what's supposed to be happening. And I kind of thought there was something wrong, but then I figured out, oh, that's a thing. And with a little bit of research, I had my classic moment where I'm online looking up, am I gay? How to know I'm gay? Chances are, if you're looking that up, probably.
Yeah. And so, I said this in an earlier video, but one of the turning points for me on this, as a straight white Protestant male raised in the South, was coming to this understanding that I am attracted to women. I had those same, feelings for girls, growing up in class. And I have absolutely zero, sexual attraction towards men. So I could maybe understand how that could be flipped. So, for those out there that maybe are having a hard time understanding that, like when you see a woman, you have no attraction whatsoever.
Correct.
Like,
Correct. At all.
I know for me, like thinking about doing something sexual for a man with a man gives me kind of like,
Yeah.
is it the same for you with a woman?
It is. I even like people, a lot of guys I talk to about this are really surprised. Even just like the sight of boobs are like gross to me.
Right. Yeah. So I did just do a video on kind of the difference in morality between conservatives and liberals, and this book that I read called The Righteous Mind by Jonathan Haidt, where he talks about how conservatives have kind of this extra level of morality of disgust. And you mentioned the word disgusting, and I think that that is kind of like that feeling. I'm not trying to attach like a positive or negative thing to it, but that kind of feeling of disgust when maybe see something sexual between two guys or something like that. It's a natural reaction for me because I do not have that attraction to guys, right? And so you just explained it's the same for you, but with looking at women, maybe, with this extra level of disgust that maybe more conservatives kind of feel that, and then they attach a moral negative to that. I wonder if that could possibly explain a little bit more this inexplicable feeling of anger or hatred towards people who are gay, because it activates that kind of disgust feeling.
Yeah, I think
in them.
A lot of what I hear is the word unnatural.
Yeah.
I hear unnatural a lot. And
it's like it's unnatural for them.
Yeah.
But it's completely
natural for me. Exactly. Yeah. And like even with my ex walking around town, I mean, we were hesitant to hold hands. We were hesitant to kiss in public because it was like, are we going to get a comment? Are we going to get attacked? What's going to happen if we do this? And it's just like, it can be tricky navigating that, and for other people to realize that it is just a natural feeling. It's not like we're kissing to make other people uncomfortable. It has nothing to do with anyone else.
You've talked to me before about kind of your frustrations in the dating area. That, your dating pool is a lot smaller than, somebody who's straight. And that, what you're looking for, you're not looking for just sex.
No.
You are looking for a romantic relationship, just like anybody else. You don't like the whole like hookup culture thing. It's a thing. It's not only in the gay community, it's also in the straight community as well. Like hookup culture has become this thing that, and that's not what you're about. You are looking for a lasting relationship with somebody that you connect with. Because I think maybe a lot of times that, that straight people who don't understand gay people think that it's just all about having sex and fulfilling sexual desires, but that's not what it's about.
And it's not just gay people who are involved in hookup culture.
Well, absolutely correct. Yeah,
it's a prominent thing, and I think it's not due to homosexuality. I think it's due to social media. I mean, it's so easy these days with 3 texts. You can have somebody's location, you show up, you have sex, you never talk about them again.
And that's problematic because, at that point, then you're really just seeing somebody as a body to be used, right?
Correct.
And not a person to be loved. Yeah. And it's possible to be gay and have a defined sexual ethic, where you're looking for certain things in a relationship, and physical intimacy would be one of those things, but it's not the end all be all.
No.
So and so it's kind of sad in a way that society has just associated
being gay with sex and therefore associated it with kind of this dirty, disgusting thing, which I also want to talk about. I think that we've really done a disservice to folks with our talk around sex and sexuality, that that it is dirty, that it is shameful, that it is disgusting. I mean, you think of like, some of the euphemisms like bumping uglies, like we're calling it ugly right there, and without celebrating the fact that all of our bodies are beautiful and that sex can be a beautiful thing. It can certainly be used harmfully, as you're talking about there with the hookup culture thing, but that it's an important part of who God created us to be.
It is.
So there was a point in time where you were at a Christian college and you were having a really hard time there with folks coming at you over your sexuality. And I remember we had some phone conversations, and I, as a teenager, can remember being on the other side of this and feeling like just the fact that you were gay was like a personal attack against me, and explaining that to you over the phone, how it doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense, but trying to help you understand how these people in your life were feeling, even if it was irrational. And I think then you were able to kind of make some connections with some of those folks.
I was. At the beginning of the school year, before we had talked about it, I was very snippy. I was very aggressive. I was hostile even. I mean, people would come for me, and
it was like a defense mechanism.
Yeah, as a defense mechanism, I'd come right back for them. I mean, I came out in high school, so I got attacked a few times. I fought a few times, and it just kind of put me in a place where I was ready to lash out at anybody who was going to come for me for being myself. And talking to you, and I'd say we came to the realization together that it's not going to end if I just keep lashing back out, because now they've got another reason why gay people are unstable, gay people are mean, gay people are nasty. And
so I told you it shouldn't be on you. It shouldn't have to be on you, but that you had a unique opportunity here to demonstrate the presence of Jesus for those people, and to show them a gay person who was fully enveloped in the love of Christ.
Yeah, and being able to do that. I even made a few friends. I remember one guy, he came down, he used to refer to me as a slur, and that was my name. He didn't use my name, he used a slur. And
this was at a Christian college.
At a Christian college, And one night he came down, and it was just me playing video games in the main room. He came down, and we were just kind of talking with each other, and he's like, "Man, you're not like weird or anything. You're not like a bad person." And I was confused. I was like, "Yeah, I tend not to be." And he's like, "But you're normal and you're gay. How does that work?" And I was like, "Well, I hate to break it to you, but it tends to be that way. Usually, most gay people are pretty normal. We're just other people just trying to survive in the world." Several people had said, "Wait, you're gay, but you're not like weird or anything." And to a lot of them, it was a great.
You're kind of weird.
I am kind of weird, but it was a great learning experience for them. I think that this is what a gay person really is, because I mean, many of them told me they'd never even met a gay person.
They believe that.
They just heard about these wild animals going around sleeping with other men, and they were going to try to sleep with you too, and a lot of them even thought that I was going to sexually assault them or try to get in bed with them just because I liked men. And just
so they had grown up with this misinformation and fear mongering, basically.
Exactly. And being able to be an example of what really a gay person is I feel was kind of where God put me in that moment and was a blessing for some people. So all in all, it was a hard experience at times, but I think it was a worthwhile experience for me to learn who I am as a person and for other people to kind of learn from me.
So, just kind of to wrap up, the last thing that I wanted to ask you is what advice would you have for somebody who is struggling with their faith and also their sexuality right now?
The biggest thing that I have to say to that person is you are loved and you are accepted and you are welcomed. And those were the words that I was begging and crying out for somebody to say to me. I mean, it I just felt so alone, and I want those people to know that you are not alone, that other people have gone through this, and we're here and we love you. And if you ever need anybody, there are people out there, and please come to us.
Well, I will echo that. All right. Thank you, Zach, so much. Thank you all for sticking with us, and I will see you in the next video.
Bye, you guys.
Thank you all so much for taking the time to listen again this week. I am grateful for each and every one of you. If you haven't already, you can find more of my content on YouTube at pastorchris.r or on TikTok, also pastorchris.r, and I'm also on Instagram at pastorchrisr. I have sermons up on YouTube and some other videos up on TikTok as well. But I will be back again next week in a new episode. You all convinced me to keep going, so I will. I don't know exactly what I'm going to do next week, but I think it's time for a little Bible study. So I'm going to pick out a good Bible story for us to walk through and maybe hopefully gain a deeper perspective and look at it in its context. Try to understand a little bit better about how we can study the Bible without taking it literally word for word and still learn more about God and learn more about each other. So if there are any particular Bible stories that you would like to hear about, feel free to send me a message on one of those other platforms. Otherwise, I will probably pick out one of my favorite ones. But once again, let me just say that wherever you are and however you are, know that I firmly, unequivocally believe that the God of all the universe and everything in it calls you beloved. Peace be with you. Amen.